everyone, my name is Sarah and today we're going to learn about the history of trick-or-treating. So Halloween is actually my favorite holiday. I love Halloween. I love wearing the costumes, I love trick-or-treating, I love decorating, I love all of it. So I'm very excited to be sharing this article with you guys today. So, of course, this year is a little bit different. We've had to do kind of like a socially distanced Halloween / trick-or-treating experience, but you can go online and search for how Americans celebrate Halloween in normal years and also how they celebrated it in 2020 if you're curious. Halloween is becoming a little bit more popular in Korea. I'm hoping it will catch on because I just love Halloween. And if my two favorite things, Korea and Halloween, could come together, that would just be a dream come true for me. All right, so just like last week, we're gonna go through the article one sentence at a time, and I'll explain any difficult words. So just keep your ears peeled and we can get started. Great. Trick-or-treating is a custom where kids dress up in costumes and travel from house to house on Halloween night. They ask for treats by saying, "Trick or treat." Usually you have a bucket or maybe a pillowcase, like a 베개 주머니. You take it with you, you go to your neighbor's house, you ring the bell, and you say, "Trick or treat." And usually they'll give you candy, and it's very fun and it's very nice. So the first word is custom. So custom, it's kind of like a tradition. It's something that people do over and over again over many years. And then a costume, I think there's a Konglish word, just costume in Korean, so this is probably a little bit easier for you to remember. But a costume, so there's two different translations for costume. It can mean 복장, so literally like a hanbok is the national costume of Korea, because it's a kind of special clothing, right? Or more commonly, a costume means when you dress up like someone or something else. So I could wear a witch costume, or I could wear a banana costume, or even, let's think, I could wear a Bororo costume if I really wanted to. You can find anything online these days. So trick-or-treating, it's a custom or a tradition where kids dress up in costumes and travel from house to house on Halloween night. And Halloween night, it's always October 31st, at least in the United States. And I think it's also the case for many other countries. So on Halloween night, they wear their costumes and they go from house to house and they ask for treats. So treats are like candy or snacks. And they ask for the treats by saying, "Trick or treat." And then usually the adults will put candy in their basket and you go to the next house. It's very fun. In the phrase, treat typically means candy, while trick refers to a prank. Many homeowners put up Halloween decorations around their homes to say kids are welcome to trick or treat. So this phrase here, trick or treat, it used to be kind of just an expression you say when you are in front of the door. It's kind of become a verb. So 좀 동사화 된 거예요, because we use this word so much when we talk about Halloween that it's kind of become its own concept. So in the phrase trick or treat, this treat typically or usually means candy, while trick refers to a prank. So I think in the past, people used to do more pranks or practical jokes or like playing tricks on each other. But nowadays it's more just about the candy, because it's, who doesn't like candy? And candy, it's also very cheap. But in theory, someone could also try to trick you or fool you or 속이다 you on Halloween. Many homeowners put up Halloween decorations. So the homeowners, the people who own the home, I think it's pretty clear just in the word. So even if you own your home or even if you rent it, you can put up Halloween decorations. So one typical type of decorations would be a jack-o'-lantern, which is a pumpkin, and you carve out a little face into the pumpkin and you put a candle inside, and it looks like a spooky, kind of scary, glowing face. This is one of my favorite Halloween activities when I was a kid. Oh, I miss it so much. But maybe it'll come to Korea someday. Yeah, so if people put up Halloween decorations, what they're saying is, kids, come here, and you can do trick-or-treating here at my house. So if you're ever in America and you decide that you want to go trick-or-treating, if you see a house with no decorations and the lights are all off, probably they don't want you to come and ask for trick-or-treat. But if they do have decorations and the lights are on, usually they want you to come and they'll give you candy, and it's really fun. The tradition of trick-or-treating and wearing costumes on Halloween began in the United Kingdom and Ireland around the 16th century. So Halloween, it's a relatively old holiday, you could say. And it started in the United Kingdom or England and Ireland in the 16th century. So that was about 500 years ago. So it's a very long time. That's older than my country. My country was only born in the 18th century. So quite a long time ago. And like I said, the word tradition and the word custom, they're used very, very similarly. So you can pretty much remember them as the same thing. People dressed in costumes would go house to house and recite rhymes to receive food. Small cakes called soul cakes were often given away. So in the past, they wouldn't say trick or treat necessarily. They would say, or they would recite a rhyme. So you guys know poetry, right? Poetry. So in English poetry, a little bit different from Korean poetry, usually in English poetry we like to have things rhyme. So when something rhymes, it means the end sound at the very end, it has the same kind of sound, right? So let's see. So a lot of English music will also have this trait. So for an example of a rhyme or a poem that uses rhyme, I'll recite or tell you or say aloud this poem about Halloween. Halloween time is finally here. So all you scaredy cats, it's time to fear. For all the evil spirits and witches are now near. You can run, but you cannot hide, my dear. Have a spooky Halloween. So it's a little bit scary, I'm not gonna lie, but you'll see here, so Halloween time is finally here. It's time to fear. Witches are near. So in English poetry, if the last word has the same sound in every line, people usually like that. So back in the day, people would dress up in costumes and go house to house and recite rhymes or poems, or poems with this particular sound scheme that I just told you about. And if they did this, they would receive or get food. Back then, of course, they didn't have candy quite in the same way that we have candy now. There were no Reese's Cups, no Smarties, no chocolate. Oh, it must have been really difficult to live back then. So they would trick or treat, they would recite rhymes or poems, and they would receive food. And the food that they received was typically called a soul cake. So a soul, a person's soul. So here we have, our physical body that you can touch. We have our mind. And so our soul, it's kind of like what makes us a human. So I think in Korean you could say a person's 정신 or like their 마음. So for instance, a soul without a physical body, in Western culture we think of that like a ghost. So the way that Westerners and Koreans think about ghosts is a little bit differently. So in the US at least, most people think that a ghost is kind of like a soul with no body. I'm not sure exactly how you guys think about it in Korea. I'm very curious. If you could let me know in the comment section below, I would love to see your thoughts. So yeah, so in the past, people would dress up in costumes, they would go house to house, they would recite rhymes and receive soul cakes. So I'm curious what those things looked like and what they tasted like. Maybe, I wonder if they had real souls inside. I don't know. If denied, they would warn homeowners of misfortune. Spooky. So if back in the day, back in the 16th century, I'm wearing my scary mask, I go up to my neighbor's door and I say my poem and I ask them for a soul cake and they say no. So what do I do in that situation? If they're denied, if they're rejected, or if the person says no, then the trick-or-treaters would warn homeowners of misfortune. So to warn somebody in Korean, that would be 경고하다. So you're telling someone something bad is going to happen. You know, maybe it'll be because I did it, maybe not. Something bad is going to happen. I'm warning you. I'm telling you in advance. So they warn them of misfortune. So if we break this word into two parts, we see fortune. So fortune in Korean would be 행운 or maybe even 복, right? So it's a good thing, but it's tricky because right here it has the word miss. So miss means no. So misfortune, it means like 불행. So something bad is going to happen. Your luck is going to turn bad. So back in the day, back in, England and Ireland, the trick-or-treaters, if they didn't get their soul cake, they would warn the homeowners, something bad is going to happen. You're going to have really bad luck. And I'm just telling you in advance. I'm warning you. So if I was a homeowner in this situation, I mean, when you think about it, it's a very strange kind of tradition going to strangers' houses and asking them for food because you wore a costume and you said a poem. That's actually really weird. Probably back then, people also thought that it was weird. But I guess if you threaten them with misfortune or warn them of misfortune, maybe they're more likely to give you what you want. I mean, fortunately, that's not how we do things these days. But yeah, when you think about it, it is a little bit weird. In North America, trick-or-treating became a widespread Halloween custom in the 1930s. So when something is widespread, so it literally means it's spread all over the world, like 널리 알려져 있다. So it's spread all over the place, and it became a Halloween custom in North America in the 1930s. So actually, the modern version of Halloween that we think of now, it's actually not that old. It's only been around since the 1930s. That's not even 100 years yet. So, it's kind of interesting. I thought that it would be older than that, but I guess not. However, the earliest known recollection dates back to 1911. The source comes from an Ontario newspaper that reported about children in costumes traveling from house to house asking for food or money. So it sounds a lot like modern trick-or-treating, right? And the earliest record or recollection, so the earliest time that we can remember that it was reported on, was in 1911 in Ontario, Canada. So in Ontario, Canada, the newspaper reported about children wearing costumes, asking for food or money. So yeah, this is very similar to what we now recognize as trick-or-treating. But in the past, it was perhaps strange enough to even talk about in the newspaper. Like, what are these kids doing? Why are they asking for money and food? That's weird. So I'm curious how Halloween went from the old version in England all the way to the version that we have now, because it's quite different. All right, well, today's article ends right here. I still have a lot of questions about the history of Halloween after reading this article. So I think when I'm done making this video, I'm gonna go home and do some more research myself, and I recommend that you also do the same to learn more about this super fun and amazing tradition that we have in the States as well as in some other countries. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you all again next time. All right, bye!